Carolyn Anderson. So excited that you can join me today. I am thrilled for what we're about to share today. It's going to change your life. Thank you for watching the Dr. Carolyn Show week and week and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and continue to be weeks and weeks, months and years to come and now. All right, so today we're celebrating the birthday, which is not technically his birthday, but the recognition of the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., excuse me. And he is a very profound and was a very profound leader. He has taught us some things about our understanding of how to speak things into being, how to share your dream, how to let the dream become a reality. And so today's topic, we're talking about what happens when the dream dies and how does that affect your heart? How does it affect the brokenness that you experience when the dream, the relationship, the career, the job, the vacation, the life that you thought that you would have had and it would have been forever. What happens when there is a situation like divorce or termination or brokenness or infidelity? There are so many different things I can go through, or physically, like myself, when you lose kids that were your dream. As far as I can remember myself, I knew and always wanted to have children. I knew I would be married with kids. I just would see that for myself. It was always a desire of mine that I would have twins. And so when I got married and was pregnant right away, I didn't even remember the dream because it wasn't something that I, dwell upon. I was just with child, didn't know what whether it was a male, a female, two males, two little girls, what it was that I was with child with. And so pregnant 1 year after we got married, I was very excited. I was thrilled, delighted. And I would, have some pressure and pain throughout the early parts of the pregnancy. But when I called my OBGYN, who at that time was a male doctor, he just said to me that, it's because it's my first pregnancy. That's why I'm going through what I'm going through, and it's normal. And so I would feel the pressure, feel the pain, but again, I'm in la la land. I'm living the dream every single day. I am having a baby, you all. I am married. I have a great career. My husband had a great career, and we have a home. We had just purchased our first I call it a dream home because it was a dream for me then, in the particular neighborhood where we wanted it. We had great neighbors, driving good. Everything was just good and going well. We were a good looking couple. Well, we still kind of are. Well, I am. And it was just good. I had no complaints. I had nothing to worry about, no fret, nothing. It was a wonderful church and ministry that we were a part of, and life was good, living the good life. And so when it came time for me to go and get my ultrasound for around 5 months gestation, which is 20 weeks, to find out what was the sex of the child that I'm having, and there was a weird look. So this was Christmas Eve, 2002. And we had just celebrated our 1 year anniversary, which was the 22nd of December of that particular year. And then 2 days later, we went to get an ultrasound. The look on the technician's face, I didn't like it. He was startled because I kept watching his face. I would see when he do the ultrasound, we would hear the heartbeat, and then we kept hearing multiple heartbeats. And so I just figured it's the sound, it's the sonogram, whatever. But then he had a weird look on his face, and he looked at us and he said, did you know that you were having twins? And I'm like, no way. He said, yes, you are having twins. And I'm like, oh my God. We looked at each other. We're in a state of shock. That evening was my last day for work for that year. I was on vacation and just in a state of shock. I'm like, oh my God, I'm having twins. And so we went over my mother-in-law's home that day, and my sister-in-law and her husband was there, and her son, and it was just a wonderful time. We got to show them the sonogram to show them that we're having twins. We didn't know what sex they were, so because we didn't want to know, our gift to each other was to take the names of the sex of what he had written down on the paper, he being the technician. We're going to put it under our Christmas tree that night, and then we would open it up on Christmas Day, and that would be our gift to each other. And then we would name the kids, because depending on what sex they are, whether it was a boy and a girl, or a girl and boy, or, well, that's the same thing, isn't it? Or two girls, two boys, then we would know what the names were, and that's what we would do on Christmas Day. And so that evening when I went home, oh no, let me back up. So that same day when we went over my mother-in-law's house to show the sonogram, to have fun, to just chillax, because I think we were all meeting up for Christmas Day, my nephew, he was about 2 years old at that time, was burnt with hot water, hot tea poured on him. And so my sister-in-law rushed to the hospital with him, and he had to undergo surgery and skin graft to get his skin back in motion. And so I was tired. I went home, and we just bought, there was, pots and pans and things that were not put away, and I was just exhausted. And so I went to bed early. A friend had came over to exchange gifts, and then I went to bed right away. And 4 a.m. in the morning, I remember it to this day, 4 a.m. in the morning, I had a sound, a gushing sound, and I woke up in despair and frightened. And one of we were having fraternal twins, so they were in 2 different sacks, and one of them erupted, and I was rushed to the hospital. And long story short, within, so that was the 25th, on the 27th, we did name them. It was 2 boys. My husband did grab the piece of paper from underneath the tree, and we named him Christian, and he passed away on the 27th of December. And I was flipped upside down on the 28th, right after, because it was like late night, 27th. And on the 28th, it's my golden birthday, and I was flipped upside down. All kind of medical things that they were doing to keep the other baby, which is Nathan, inside the womb, because if we can save one, then there's still life. And I, went through the moments and the time of just, not understanding what's happening, because you got good news, then it's trauma at that night for my nephew who got burned, then trauma, I'm in the hospital on Christmas Day, then trauma, I lost one of the baby, but good news, I still have another baby. Good news, it's my golden birthday. Good news, I'm still alive. And so my lungs started to fill up with liquid, with water, and I was pretty much dying. We both were. And I couldn't be upside down anymore, so I was laid in a legs lifted posture, so that I was able to bring forth the child. We have our church family come by, our pastor. Many people were praying for us all over the world, and just praying that that child would live. Well, unfortunately, on the 30th, 3 days after Christian, Nathan, the other son, passed away. I gave birth to him as a living child, but he was too young. His lungs were not developed fully enough, so he grasped for air, and the NICU doctors tried to push a tube down his throat, but there was no airway, no passageway, because it wasn't developed for him to live, and so he died. And so there's nothing like seeing a child grasping for air, to breathe, and to like, I'm just looking at my dream just dying, and I can't do anything. There's nothing I can do. I'm praying, I'm screaming, I'm crying. The doctors can't do anything. They walked out and just left us with the baby, cleaned him up, gave him to us so we can hold him until we felt like we could let go. Well, which mom or dad wants to let go? And so we held him till he became cold. Took pictures. My mother-in-law came. My sister-in-law, who also had, her son was burnt and in the hospital still, came by, and we just, stayed with him as long as we could, and then gave him to the nurses. And so that was the 30th, and on the 31st I was discharged, and I felt death all over me, just leaving that hospital, driving home. I said nothing to my husband. He said nothing to me. The next 3 months would be a state of despair, because I couldn't understand why the dream that I've had all along has died. Why? What was the reasoning behind it? What did I do? What did my husband do that has caused this trauma, this tragedy in our lives? And, you know, I can just imagine what Dr. Martin Luther King's wife at the time thought after she saw the person who is the dreamer, the one who is speaking about having a dream and having hope, is all of a sudden, you know, murdered, and it seems like the dream that he had died, but it didn't. It lived, it resurrected, it's still living today. Even though he's physically dead, the dream still lives on. And so for the next 3 months, I spent those days in mourning, grieving, going through, and for years I could not speak about children. I didn't want to see any commercials with babies, and all around me there were other women who were just losing kids and having, you know, miscarriages and stillborn births. And so I just went through my process. I did what I did and healed and grieved the way I knew how to, because I've never had such a traumatic experience in my life. That was what trauma, first state of real trauma that entered my life, is what that was, that stage. And so today we're talking about what happens when the dream dies. So what did I do? What did Dr. Carolyn do after that dream dies? And there's so many that have lost a job. There are so many who have broken relationships. The marriages are not what you thought it was going to be. There are so many who so many parents who, you know, had the dream of this wonderful child, and all of a sudden they've turned into something else. There are people who don't understand all this chaos that is happening in the world. You know, the American dream. What happened to the American dream of living in peace and having liberty and freedom and having a state of well-being? What happened? What happened in schools when it seemed to have been the place where you find peace and comfort and joy, and you could go and send your kids to schools without feeling a sense of being afraid? And what happened? What happened to that dream? What happened to those states? What happened to those days? Well, coming up next, I will be talking with life coach, certified life coach, Genesis A. Hall. She's also a licensed clinical social worker. She's been on the show before. She's my expert life coach guest that joins me for different topics that I'm speaking about. And so we're going to talk about some of the other dreams that have died. And so, hey, stay tuned. Let people know that Dr. Carolyn show is live. Share this post out, invite some friends, and we'll be right back. Family, this is Dr. Carolyn G. Anderson, your international coach. The Mega Life movement, it is all about transforming lives. It is your time, your season, your fresh start, where every day you can choose to make it a good day. I'm so excited that you have decided to do life with us. And it all starts with transforming one life, one family, one community at a time. The movement is in action. Hey, guess what? Have you joined the Facebook Mega Life complimentary group? If not, you have the opportunity to just click on that button and get complimentary access where you can be connected with us. Let's do life together. Hello, Mega Life family. This is Dr. Carolyn. So, before I start with any exercise, whether it's Zumba or I'm going into the fitness center, no matter what it is, you must always start with some warm-up. And what I do is 20 jumping jacks, and that's what I want you to do. And I'll demonstrate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then after you do that, that's when you go into the fit stretch, which is a Dr. Carolyn one and only way to do the stretching. So until the next video, have a Mega Life day. All right, everyone, welcome back to the Dr. Carolyn Show. For those of you who are just joining me, we are talking today about what happens when the dream dies. We're also making that into a connection about the broken heart syndrome. For so many years, I've been talking about how you can actually physically feel pain in your heart when you are broken, when you've lost something, when the dream that you thought you had died. The marriage, the relationship, the job, the career, the spouse, the children, physically. What happens when those things die? You actually physically feel some pain from that. I know, because I'm speaking from experience. I knew other people who actually, I know a lady, a life coach, who coded blue. She coded blue on the table, and the doctors could not find any blocked arteries, no form of condition medically per se that would have had her to have a broken heart, to have a heart attack actually. And it was later they found out that she has been suffering in silence. She was in a relationship where she was married, but yet she was alone, never communicated, and her husband never communicated with her for years. He had a condition called intimacy and emotional anorexia that starved her from connection and starved her from any sense of intimacy and being. And it was then that the broken heart syndrome became an actual thing for the American Heart Association. And so today we are celebrating the great, wonderful hero, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And on a day like this, when he talked about the dream, having a dream, and seeing Blacks and whites together, seeing communities and neighborhoods together, seeing actually African American in the presidency. Now we know we've lived through those manifestations of having President Barack Obama and his wife Michelle as the president and wife. And so joining me today, we have expert life coach, certified life coach, I might add, guest and licensed clinical social worker. She is the founder and counselor and therapist of Genesis A. Hall Therapeutic Services. And so Genesis, welcome to the show. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I bet you are.
Yes.
Yeah, I am doing good. I'm excited that you are here with me. I thank you for your expertise and for being on the show time and time again. And you just look beautiful. You know, we got the curly thing going on, you know what I'm saying? It's easy to manage, right?
Yes, it is.
You don't care. It can be messed up and it look good. But when you have
looks good.
Right? When you have straight hair, it don't work. It don't work that way. So I'm excited that you're on the show again. We had talked about, other things when we were heading on the Mega Life Tour. Yeah. That's still in session, still going on. And I'm actually was not going to do the show today because we're grieving the loss of my father-in-law, my husband's father. And I already had it scheduled and programmed, and I knew today there will never be, for 2019, another celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Day, and I wanted to tie it in. And it's actually very fitting because, in essence, my husband's father was a dream he had. He wanted to know his father, wanted to meet his father, and he got to do that 7 years ago. And so now the dream is alive and was alive, now physically has gone. But what he has to treasure is those memories. Yes. Because what happens when that dream and what that desire and everything that you had die, for some people who are looking for their father, they never find them and they live in the state of desperation. So in essence, he had a fulfilled dream. So I talked before you joined me that I was with child with twins. I've always wanted twins my whole entire life. And so did my spouse prior to being married. And we got to find out we were having twins at 5 months gestation. And it was Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. It was trauma in our lives. And by the 31st of December, both of them were gone. Oh, wow. And so I wrote a book thereafter about what happens when the dream dies. Does it live again? So Genesis, I'm a therapist, a counselor, and have been interviewing and also having patients and clients that you've seen, that whether it's their career, their relationships, which is a big one, have suffered from this syndrome of my dream has died. Yeah. And I know you have to go in deeper to help to resurrect that dream. So I just want you to talk to me about some of the ways and things that you have seen that has first caused these dreams to die. And number two, what are like 2 or 3 steps to apply to resurrect that dream or to know that it does live again, as long as you have the breath of life.
Right.
So yeah, I just want to talk to you about that today.
Well, one of the things I would say I've noticed with many of the clients that I've had is that the dreams that they had really related mostly to like for relationships, an expectation that they had. I think every girl has a fairy tale of wanting to be with their Prince Charming, and every guy may have this fairy tale of wanting to be with their wonderful princess. But when things start running to a different direction, and you may have the Wicked Witch, or you may have, I don't know, something completely opposite from that Prince Charming, like you talked a little bit about before, individuals who have difficulty with intimacy and emotionally are unable to be available for their spouse. When you see those things take place, you see a sense of rejection at an all-time high. You see individuals that are depressed or anxious, or even some who've come with post-traumatic stress disorder, so PTSD, based off of the relationships that they wanted and desired, and they did not get that. And so one of the things I will say is, not even on the relationship standpoint too, is that even those who I've dealt with who've had a relationship with their business or with their bosses, and how they will come to, they had to have some type of change that took place in the workforce, whether they had to change their position, their job, they had to change bosses. And you have individuals who had a dream of wanting to stay with a particular boss up until retirement, and it just did not happen.
Right.
And so at this point, what one of the things that happens to that individual is they lose a sense of self. So one of the first steps I will say to many of my clients, it's getting back to the original piece, which is self. Who are you? Is one of the questions I ask them. And who are you before you were in that relationship? Who are you before you were in that position in your job? First, identify that and identify what their value system is, and they get back to a place of self. Then they can actually feel better about themselves, and then know what they desire, and are able to have the confidence to speak up and say, here's what I need in this relationship. Here's what I need in the job or in the position. And some individuals, because of that, have made a choice of either switching positions at their job, or having to actually come to counseling for, couples counseling.
Right. And counseling is good, right? Therapy, coaching, all that is necessary. I believe that the same way you have a primary care doctor, you should have a primary care counselor, life coach, or therapist, someone that you are sharing with, because it's about trust, right?
Right. Absolutely. And I think that's one of the necessary things too, is to have a voice and be able to be heard and understood.
And so from your expertise, what are the more common? Is it more relationship that you have seen as common as the dream that died? Is it more relational? Because some people can live with, okay, I got fired, let me bounce back and come back again. Men maybe not so much, because that's their life. Their work is their life. But women can, bounce back. But are most of what you've seen more relational?
Yes, I would say it is, regardless. I mean, even in the business world, it's still relational in a sense too.
That's
but
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you do see a lot of, what about parents? So,
absolutely.
Yeah, the child who they thought they had is not, they got in trouble. And some parents think they failed, right? They think, it was me, even though the child is not like under 18, but as you've gotten it up in trouble, what can you share with parents to help them to realize that the dream is not dead? It's still alive. It may be in prison, but at least prison to me is better than physical death. So what can you share from your expertise about to parents who may be watching us, who may be saying, I just feel lost. I feel hopeless. Even some who have teenagers. I know you've probably seen some of those.
Oh my goodness.
Because that's a rough stage and age to be in. So what can you share to help someone who's a parent that's going through and feeling just broken?
Yeah, I think one of the major things that parents need to hear is that they're not alone. Oftentimes they feel isolated or feel like their situation is an isolated situation. And so it's like, my child did this and this is doing this to my family. And so one of the biggest things that I encourage parents, as soon as they as soon as they either call or come into my office, is you are not alone. I hear this story quite a bit. You are not alone, and you can get through this. The other thing too is surround yourself with resources. You have natural resources of other people who can be there to support you through this, who've either raised teenagers or are raising teenagers. Mm-hmm. And so be able to not allow yourself to get isolated in a situation where you're in it by yourself. You are not alone, and we have resources in the community that can support you. And then also know that you are planting a seed in your child's life, and whatever seed that you plant in that child's life, it will manifest, it will grow, maybe not through your eyes at that very moment, but that seed that you planted in that child's life can manifest.
Now that's a good point. That's a good point you made, especially about not being alone, because so many, that's why I love therapy. That's why I love coaching and counseling. That's why I like the whole human services-ness of it. That's why I love this talk show, because someone is watching today who's saying, oh my God, you know, I felt so isolated, right? Because the world system and the way things operate, people paint this perfect picture. They paint it like, oh, my kids are so great. You know, if you follow so many things that you see on social media, you will think this world is perfect. But there is nothing like, for example, when I heard about an actual broken heart syndrome, because when I was broken, whether it was the time I lost that or any marital problems or any work problems, I physically felt the pain in my heart. And I'm like, I'm not just broken emotionally. Like, I'm not sad. I felt the pain. And so that's what you just shared about, you're not alone, and it's a good validation point. So anyone that is watching or will watch, just know that parenting is, you're trusted for the responsibility, and you did your best. Even if you think you didn't do your best, you did your best, because it's hard to be raising someone else and another child while you're still going through. Because and I want to speak to the mothers now, a lot of mothers put their lives on hold because I know you see a lot of parents. I know you see a lot of women, mothers especially, with the singleness, right? Going and raising, being mom and dad. That is a state of brokenness. And I'm sure there's so many women who they didn't see themselves being single. They didn't see themselves raising that child alone. They saw the marriage. They saw, you know, that's most of where most people start. You know, you get married, it's blissful, and then you have the kids and something happened and you end up alone. That's a dying dream, you know. And so that's a really good point. I wanted to just elaborate on that the validation of saying you're not alone, and letting them know that I've seen others who have gone through this, and you can live again, right? Live again. So, all right. Any last words you would like to share? And I'm just so happy and grateful again for you to be on the show. So I'll just let you go ahead and share just a couple nuggets of, if you're feeling broken, if you felt like the dream has been lost and it's dying. Hey, you're a certified life coach, and you know hey. I mean, you had it on your dream board, you had it on your vision board. It was a goal, but it never died. It never died because it became a reality. So that's a good point to just interject right then and there. Is you can get whatever it is that you desire to have. You just have to put it on a place where you can see it and speak it and believe it and know it. So from a clinical perspective, just 2 other tips that the folks can do to bounce back.
All right. So one tip is that's okay. I only got one tip or two. There's so much I want to say, so much. But I'll
all right, you got 2. I'll give you 2, Genesis. I'll give you 2, 3. You got 3 tips.
Give me 2 or 3. Okay. So one thing would be self-care. I'm always self-care. Is super necessary. And what I mean by self-care is taking care of your body, taking care of your soul, which is your mind, will, and your emotion. taking, or your spirit, and taking care of your, specifically your mind, your mental status, your mental self, whether that is taking you a 5-minute break. And I call it go on a 5-minute vacation or wherever you are, where you cut people off, and just kind of focus in on a dream, focus in on just being clear in your mind, taking care of your body, exercising, eating right, taking baths and showers. You know how many parents don't even take baths nowadays too? But taking a bath and just really soaking yourself into a bath, and getting a babysitter so that the babies aren't running in there with you while you're taking a bath, because I know some parents tell me that too. And then also just allowing for yourself to do something that is just something special that you enjoy doing, whether it's helping other people, whether it's meditating, whether it's prayer, whether it's whatever it is that kind of makes you feel good. Get your nails done, get a pedicure, take care of yourself. Men too, same thing. Go play your basketball with your friends. Get out there and take care of yourself by playing video games if you want to as well. The other tip that I will give too, in order to deal with the broken heart, is don't run away from the emotions. Right. Allow yourself to feel whatever it is that you are feeling, not filling it with stuff, whether it's activities and continue to work and just act as if everything is fine and okay. No, allow.
You know, a lot of men do that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said something about the men too, but yes, they fill the pain and the void with stuff, and they either shut down or they shut it out, which is, it's the same thing, you know, whether it's cutting the grass, going to work, all that kind of stuff, and not doing a lot of self-care. So I'm glad you mentioned it about the males as well, because we do have a lot of male viewers who watch the show time and time again. So very good point. Very good point. And go ahead.
Oh, I got more?
No, okay, that was 3. All right.
No, it wasn't 3. That was 2. I can give you one more.
That was 2.
I get another.
All right, give him one more for the road. Why not?
Thank you. I get one more. I was going to.
One more.
One more. Good. So we talked about self-care. We talked about not feeling the emotions with things, but feeling that emotion too. I would say another tip of like dealing with the brokenhearted as well is connection. When you connect with other people, it is so phenomenal, whether it's like we talked about earlier with a therapist, with a group therapy is really good as well, or support groups that are out there in the community, or even blogs. Sometimes when you just even go on a blog and just kind of connect with other people in the social media realm, that can be a support as well. But you, again, do not want to isolate yourself from a broken heart. Be real, be honest about it, be open about it, be able to share and be vulnerable with someone that you can trust. Therapist, that's a confidential setting. So you can be completely honest about those things to deal with the broken heart. So that's 3.
Beautiful. That's 4. I love it. I love it. Genesis, it's always such a pleasure having you on the show time and time again. Thank you for being our expert life coach guest today and our licensed clinical social worker, giving tips and sharing about how to overcome being in a state of brokenness and how to resurrect the dream. Yes. What you have shared, I know I was doing the matrix because I was frozen. See this matrix? So I was frozen on my end. I don't know what it showed to the audience. So anyway, thank you so much for being on the show time and time again. Your expertise that you have offered has helped someone to be able to bounce back, to come back into a state of saying, hey, this dream can live again. Because I have 3 dreams that I'm living through right now, because I have 3 kids and went from 0 to none. So it is possible to answer that question. The dream can and does and will live again. There's always another career. There's so many relationships. There's always somebody else, because if it's not that one, right, it's someone else. There is always another path that can be taken, because God has created our destiny, but we choose our path based on the decisions that we make. So today, our licensed clinical social worker has shared Genesis A. Hall. You can revive, you can make a difference. And I want to just thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much. Awesome.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for watching. And thank you, Dr. Carolyn, for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, folks. So we, I don't know what happened to my audio. Everything was just messing up. I'm like, where did it go? Okay, there we go. All right, so folks, we just had, that was cool. That was like me and Genesis and, so for those of you who are just joining us, we are talking today about what happens when the dream dies. Does it live again? We're also sharing and talking about the broken heart syndrome. And you just heard from my guest, our expert guest, Genesis A. Hall. She's a certified life coach and also a licensed clinical social worker, the owner and founder of Genesis A. Hall Therapeutic Services in Bloomington, Normal, Illinois. So she'll be joining us again from time to time as we go through with the show, because we are more than just a talk show. We are a life show, and we help to find solutions to your everyday life problems. And so stay tuned. I'll be right back. Happy New Year! That's right, folks. It's a brand new year. It is a fresh start. It's a second chance, and we have started the movement. As part of the Mega Life movement, we will be traveling from city to city, town to town, state to state on tour. And guess what? You can get a chance to be a part of that Mega Life movement by showing up, by moving with us, and by being present in the place where we are talking about how to live life fully every single day, how to be well and get wealth, how to stay healthy and live a life of abundance and the overflow, how to use your brain to remap and rewire your life, how to move and navigate through the waters and through the storms of life, and how to live that every single day, making it a good day. So come and be a part of the Mega Life Tour with us. I promise you, your life will never be the same.
Welcome to the Mega Life Club. This is an excellent opportunity for you to take your life to the next level. The Mega Life Club is all about making every day good again. Have you had some difficult and challenging days? Have you had your faith being shaken? Has your relationship hit the rocks? Have you been in a situation where your health has deteriorated and now you're not sure what to do? Do you have a dream or a vision, even from a child, and you've just not been able to fulfill that dream or vision? Maybe you have a life experience that you'd like to put in a book and you're not quite sure where to start. I don't even have the finances to be able to make that happen. Well, that's what the Mega Life Club is all about. The Mega Life Club is about intentional living. The Mega Life Club is about exposing you and giving you resources that will help to make every day good again. So we want you to be a part of us. Come, join the club and take your life to the next level. The person you are today, you will not be anymore, because you're in the Mega Life movement, the Mega Life Club, and a great place to be.
Hey, this is Dr. Carolyn. This is my after exercise regimen. This is what I do. So I'm taking you through a day with Dr. Carolyn and seeing how I keep my Healthy Mondays going, and pretty much kind of every day, unless I'm traveling. I just do the elliptical. I don't have all these things, but inviting you into my personal space. So of course I only drink Fiji water. Fiji, you need to sponsor me. Cantaloupe, mint, almond, my glass that I will be pouring this out, and I use this protein because it is apparently dairy-free, soy-free, gluten-free, lactose-free, vegan-free, non-GMO, and sugar-free. So I want to make sure that I'm getting what I'm not endorsing anyone or any company, and I'm not saying this is what you should do. I'm telling you what I do so I can stay healthy, because the body needs to protein so that when you work out, when you do cardio, you are replacing your body with protein and also potassium. So I do coconut milk as well. Excuse me, coconut drink. So come on, Dr. Carolyn, protein, so that I can replenish my muscles, because muscle burn fat, right? So this is what I do. I just blend it up, And after I do that, it's a mind over matter, so I like to have my stuff in a nice little wine glass because, you know, that's just mine, and it fills it all up. So this is what I use: water. I blend my almond, and welcome back to the show. For those of you who are just joining us, we are having a great time today at the Dr. Carolyn Show. So it is the official celebration of the third Monday of every January is the celebration of the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day of observance for his birthday. This is his birthday month. And so as a federal holiday, they have instituted this day, and he's known as the dream guy. I had a dream, and part of his dream was to see blacks and whites in the same neighborhood, in the same community, come together. And while some of those things have happened, and we've also had a black president in the White House, there's still some of the dream that is manifesting itself. We're talking also about how when the dream dies, or so it seems, well, how does that affect the heart? How does that affect the life? There is a niche that our practice and our firm has been talking about, and that is the broken heart syndrome. I am on a mission to help the world and help people and to validate women and men who are suffering from a broken heart, from a mostly relational issue or something traumatic that has happened in life that you didn't expect. It was not a part of the dream. It wasn't a part of the plan. It wasn't on your goal board. It wasn't something you knew was coming and you planned for. And when those situations hit you in life, when trauma hits you, what do you do? How do you live again? How do you continue to live in a state of brokenness and in a state of being hurt and feeling a sense of despair? For some people, it is being abused by a spouse or a family member. For some, it was childhood trauma that resurrected later in life. For others, something triggered the brokenness in them, and it continues to happen over and over again. And for some, it's been what I call a cis syndrome, which is suffering in silence. There are also people who don't know that they are suffering from a broken heart. There are people that never shared about their despair and their dreams that have died, and how they were looking forward to having this everlasting great life, and something traumatic happened. And so that was what we discussed today in our show. And I just really, the Dr. Carolyn Show is more than just talk. We are a life show. We talk about relationships, about your health, about your faith, your finances, how to be made whole, how to live life in a state of being balanced, how to find that equilibrium in life, how to be your true self, the true authentic you, and how not to suffer in silence, how to share and how to get those things that are happening in the home, in the heart, in your space out, and to get the help that is needed and is desired. We talked today to Genesis A. Hall, who through our organization is a certified life coach, and she's also a licensed clinical social worker. Excuse me. See, I got my own cup, Dr. Carolyn Show cup. I had to just take a break there. And so we spoke to her today about tips and tools that can be used to overcome a state of brokenness, to overcome the feeling of my dream has died. One of those things that you can do is self-care. It's taking care of yourself. And one of those self-care is to share, is to find a good counselor, therapist, a life coach, a means and a way where you can share in a safe space with someone or with a group of people that you trust. One of the solutions that we have found to this particular problem is to be a part of our Mega Life Club. It is to join the movement. It is to come and be with us, like-minded visionaries who have gone through. They've been through some stuff. They've been hurt, they've been broken, they've been bruised, and now they're making every day good again, because it is a choice. You have to choose to make your day good. It is something that doesn't just come about. It is a choice. And so that was why, let me put it up here on the screen. There we go. megalife.life. Oops, I'm missing a W. You get the point. It's www. So here we go. There we go again. So www.megalife.life. I like to say that. I like to say www, World Wide Web, megalife.life, not .com. All right. So I am ecstatic. And I want to thank you so much for watching our show, for sharing our show, for being a part of what we're doing, what we're saying, for being a part of the movement, for being one who wants and have chosen to live life and to make it good. It is a choice. Life will just happen if you just allow it to just be. But it is a choice. It is something that you have to choose to be. It has to be intentional. And that is why I want the show to go out into so many households so that there is hope. This show, I want it to be a space and a place where people come to every week to find hope, to find solution, to be able to know that it is not just me. I am not isolated from the situation. There are others who are going through exactly what it is that I am going through. And so thank you again for watching our show. Thank you for sharing our show. It is our hope today that you know your dream can live again. I am sitting here today alive with a resurrected dream. I have been given more than just one. I have 3 beautiful, wonderful kids. So for those of you who were joining me and were with me from the beginning of the broadcast, I talk about losing those 2 boys. And I also had miscarriages thereafter. But I have the dreams. I have children. It has been my desire to have children. I have that. I have a life. I am living. I am breathing. I am here. And so is Dr. Martin Luther King's dream. It is still living. There are us, you and I, who get to see and live out the manifestation of the dream he had. And so the best thing you can do for him, the best thing you can do for that dream to continue to live, the best thing you can do so that your dreams can continue to live is to continue to believe. Believe that it is possible. Don't give up hope. Write down your affirmations. If you have not gotten your Mega Life Matrix, which you see behind me here, you can get that from our website at megalife.life or on Amazon.com, because in there it talks about mapping out your goals, writing down your aspirations about your daily nutrition, your exercise, how was your week. It has space for you to journal your day, what and how has life been for you. So it is a matrix, it is a map to map out your 2019 and relaunch your 2020 vision, dreams, and aspirations. Again, I'm Dr. Carolyn G. Anderson. I'm the host of the Dr. Carolyn Show. I want to thank my guest, Genesis A. Hall, and for you, my co-host and my guests as well, for watching the show, and most importantly, for sharing and for living the authentic life. I appreciate you. I love you. And until the next time, have a great day. Make every day good again. Thank you for being a part of what we are doing here. Be well, stay well, and live well. Be blessed.